The UK has the third largest aviation network in the world, carrying around 144 million passengers annually. We spoke with Robert Griggs from Airlines UK to find out how the industry is working to drive growth, encourage sustainable practices and stay in a competitive place.
Tell us a bit about Airlines UK and how you support your members.
So Airlines UK, we're the trade association representing UK registered airlines. So that's airlines that have a base here. It's all the big names that you might know, but also airlines that do things like cargo and also various other things. As a trade body, our job is to represent the interests of UK's airlines into government to make sure that policy is supporting a competitive aviation market. We also are a place for airlines to convene, to discuss the issues, and ultimately we're there to try and make sure that the UK is the best possible place to run an airline.
How important is aviation to the UK economy?
Aviation is hugely important to the UK economy. We're an island nation. We rely disproportionately on the air connectivity that airlines bring. We think around 1 million jobs are supported either directly or indirectly by the UK's aviation system. That's not just airlines, that's airports and aerospace. A huge number of jobs, but also it's not just, people think about airlines and they think about leisure flights and holidays, which is massively important, but it's also things like trade. So around 40% of the value of our trade outside the EU is flown on board aircraft, and the majority of that on passenger aircraft. So you might be going on holiday, but within the aircraft that you're flying on, there's probably some really valuable exports that UK businesses are selling into overseas markets. So airlines do a number of things, huge benefits to the UK.
And how can you ensure the UK stays in a competitive place?
It's really important that we don't take our aviation sector for granted. We are a hugely competitive sector, lots of competition between airlines and between airports, but there are a number of cost pressures, and we're in an increasingly competitive global market. There's no God-given right for the UK to be such a world-leading aviation market. So things like air passenger duty, we have the highest tax in the world of that type. Also the costs of transitioning to net zero. We absolutely have to get to net zero carbon. We're committed to it. There are costs of that. Things like sustainable fuel is more expensive. There's a number of trading schemes and carbon pricing schemes that aviation is now part of. We're supportive of those. Those are all important, but we need to make sure that here in the UK we are doing that with the support to keep it competitive, because countries overseas are putting an awful lot of money into supporting their domestic sectors to do that transition. We need to make sure we're doing it here as quickly but also as competitively as possible.
And how are airlines working to achieve their sustainability targets?
There's a huge amount of work going on at the moment. It's probably our number one objective to support that decarbonisation transition. Number of elements to go into net zero. So airlines are supporting the UK's airspace modernisation process, which is essentially how we can make sure that airlines are able to fly more direct and efficient routes. It's complex, but it's really important, and it's something that we can do quickly to take carbon out of the system. There's sustainable aviation fuels, which are hugely important. They are fuels that are much less carbon intensive than normal fossil fuel. You can make them out of lots of different types of things. They are more expensive than normal fuel, 3 to 7 times more expensive. So whilst we introduce those, and there's a mandate from next year going up to 10% in 2030 and higher beyond that. So we're going to start to see huge volumes of SAF, we call it SAF, sustainable aviation fuel for short. Huge volumes are going to be starting coming over the next few years. It's more expensive, so we need to make sure that we can build the production, get that cost down, and that's a real priority.
And it's a rapidly growing sector. What impact is innovation and technology playing?
Innovation's always been a huge part of aviation. It's the reason why we've reduced the cost of travel over the last several decades. So obviously the boom in leisure travel particularly, that's been a result of airlines innovating, getting costs down. Sustainability, there's masses going on in terms of aviation technology and things like hydrogen, new efficient aircraft, wings, huge amounts of innovation. But ultimately we're hoping that the sector will continue to grow. And if we're going to grow, we need to make sure we can accommodate those numbers. So using technology, for example, to make the border process more seamless. So you can ultimately, ideally, just walk through the airport onto your aircraft, and all the checks would have been done either through, remote scans or upstream at home before you travel. That is a process that we're on. We've seen things like e-gates sort of bringing that to life, which people would have experienced. So yeah, lots of innovation going on. It's an exciting time.
Rob Griggs, thank you very much.
Thank you.